What is happening, you wonderful people? So last night I got a chance to go see How to Make a Killing, and in this film, a disinherited man, Beckett Redfellow, eliminates his relatives to get his inheritance back. And that's all I can say without giving too much away. Let's talk about it.
What's your favorite scary movie?
So How to Make a Killing. When it comes to How to Make a Killing, I really didn't have any big expectations for this movie. I didn't really have any big expectations for this movie as a whole. I didn't really sit down and watch the trailer. I saw like snippets of it, but even then, even though I didn't watch all of the trailer and I only watched a little snippets of it, I didn't really have any big expectations. I wasn't over the moon excited for this movie, and that's kind of ironic because Glen Powell's in here. Glen Powell's the main star, and I really like Glen Powell. I walked in really liking Glen Powell as an actor. He's one of my favorite actors. He has been for years. And he also lives in Austin, Texas, which I'm technically in the Austin area, kind of like 40, 50 minutes outside of Austin. So that's kind of biased in a way, sort of. But he's always been one of my favorite actors. He has been for years. And I think he's very charismatic. He's very charming. He brings the wit. He brings good humor. He brings a good sense of humor to every role that he plays, every movie he's in. He brings the charisma. He brings the charm, the humor, the wit. And Margaret Qualley's in here too. I always like seeing Margaret Qualley. She has a good presence in every role she's in, every movie she's in, and she always brings such a good personality to the screen. And Ed Harris, it's always good to see him. He doesn't have a huge role in here, but it's always good to see him in here. And you have a lot of other people. You have Jessica Henwick, who I'm not over the top familiar with. I saw her in Glass Onion, and she's in a few other things as well. And you have a lot of other really well-known actors in here. You have Topher Grace, doesn't have a big role, but he's in here. You have Zach Woods, who's not real popular, but y'all probably know him from The Office as Gabe. And you have Bill Camp in here. So you have really an all-star cast in here. The cast ensemble. This movie is like sprinkled with amazing actors. It is. And I think the concept in here, let alone, is so intriguing and interesting. And even if you didn't watch the trailer and you heard about it, even if you didn't watch it and someone came up to you and you're like, hey, listen to this movie, I'm going to tell you the plot real quick. And you're like, hey, that seems interesting. That might actually work. That might actually be a really cool concept if executed right. And it's about this guy who is going after all of his family members, all of his relatives, and killing them, taking them out one by one to get his inheritance. And that is a really interesting plot if executed right. And maybe that plot seems a little familiar, but at the same time, it's one where you could sit back and go, you know what? Yeah, that was a blast. I had fun with that. And when it comes to the director of this movie, John Patton Ford, I have not seen any of his other films, any of his other work. I'm not too familiar with him as a director or a writer. I'm not really familiar. This is the first movie I've seen from him. He did direct that movie a few years ago with Aubrey Plaza called Emily the Criminal, which I have heard of, but I have not seen that one. And I went into this movie too loving A24. Not everything A24 does is great or good, but for the most part, the good movies outweigh the bad movies or just okay movies. A24, they usually always knock it out of the park, whether it's Civil War, whether it's Death of a Unicorn, whether it's Talk to Me. Like, they always knock it out of the park. They always seem to knock it out of the park, I should say. And you know, when you're walking into an A24 film, you know you're about to see something off the chain. When you walk into an A24 film, you know you're about to see something chaotic and just all over the place, but in all the best ways. And that's a compliment. But after walking out of this film, after walking out of How to Make a Killing, it's okay. It's fine. So if you're new to my channel or if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I like to talk about my positives first, then my negatives next. But even when I need to be negative, I will be positive. And even when I need to be positive, I will be negative as well. And overall, How to Make a Killing is fun for the most part. It's fun for the most part. It's mainly fun because of its concept. The concept in here is really intriguing. And when you saw the trailer, if you didn't see the trailer and you heard about the concept, you heard about the plot, and if someone came up to you and you're like, hey, I'm going to read you this plot, it's blah, 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 blah blah. That's the plot, you know. And I'm like, you know, that's an interesting concept. A man going after all of his relatives to kill every single one of them one by one to get his money, to get his inheritance, with Glen Powell in the starring role, with how charismatic he is in every single role he's in. Yeah, I'm in.
Bottom line, are you in or are you out?
What are you talking? In or out of what?
But I have to say, I'll talk more about my negatives later in the negative section. I do want to talk about my positives right now, because there are some things that I really did like about it. Overall, I'm just okay with the film. I just walked out being meh with it, but there are some good things about it. And I think Glen Powell is an Austinite. I'm technically an Austinite, so I'm kind of biased there. I'm not trying to be biased, but I kind of am. And I've always liked him as an actor. He's always been one of my favorite actors. He has been for years. For the past few years, he has been. And he's very charismatic. He's very charming. He brings the wit, the humor. And he brought a lot of the humor in here, that dry, witty humor that he always brings in every single movie he's in. And I absolutely love that. And I think he absolutely knocked it out of the park in here. He always does. And he was really good in here. He was really good. And with this concept, it's a concept that, if executed right, it could work. And I really think that Margaret Qualley in here too is an absolute standout. I love Margaret Qualley. I think she's absolutely phenomenal. She's a really good up and coming actress, and she's great. She's always great in everything she's in. And she's somewhat annoying and obnoxious towards the end of the film, I will say that. And when you see it, you'll be like, oh yeah, she needs to kind of go away. But before that, like this first and second act towards the beginning of the film, she's actually kind of likable. She is actually kind of likable. And you kind of like her relationship with Glen Powell. They kind of have the most screen time together besides Glen Powell and Jessica Henwick. Their chemistry is good too, and I like the chemistry between Margaret Qualley and Glen Powell. I like their chemistry. I really do. I think their chemistry was really good in here. And Ed Harris isn't in here much. He only has a few scenes. He doesn't have a big role at all. Like he's part of the plot. It made sense for him to be there, but I really wish he had more to do. But I mean, it's Ed Harris. Who doesn't love Ed Harris? Even if he has a small role like he does in this movie, it's just cool to see him. It's just cool to see his presence on screen. And Topher Grace is in here as well. He doesn't have a huge, big role. He doesn't have a big role. And Jessica Henwick in here is really, really good. I think she's absolutely phenomenal in here. And her chemistry with Glen Powell, their chemistry back and forth is really good. And Zach Woods from The Office, who played Gabe, he was hysterical in here. He was bringing the house down. The audience I was with, we were all laughing at every single thing he was saying. And Bill Camp, I'm not too familiar with. I know a few things he's been in, but he doesn't have like a big role in here. He does have a few scenes as well, but it's cool to see him. And I really do think the movie itself is absolutely hysterical. It's a dark comedy, and it works. Not all of the humor works, not all of it, but for the most part, the audience I was with, we were all enjoying it because of how funny it was, with the dark humor, with it being a dark comedy. The humor, not all of it lands, but for the most part, it really did. It landed for the most part. And it's kind of unironically funny, and it's funny in the sense of the things that happen in here were just like, that's crazy, and I can't believe that just happened. And you definitely have to see it with the crowd too. And I really think the score in here is quite good. The score is not the best score you've ever heard, and it's a score you'll probably forget, but when you're watching it, you're like, hey, I'm feeling this score. When you're watching, you're like, hey, this score is pretty energetic. I'm actually digging the score in here. And I really think for the most part, the pacing's good. You're engaged in this story for the most part. Some parts of the story I'll talk more about in the negatives in a little bit don't really work, but what makes it fun is the concept. What makes it fun is seeing Glen Powell go after each one of his family members one by one, and that's where you have your story, and that's what mainly keeps you engaged. That's what mainly kept me engaged. And you really do have fun with this concept as a whole. Him going after each one of his family members, that makes for an intriguing time and a fun time at the movies. And I like the non-linear storytelling in here. Glen Powell is telling the story from his point of view, and I love when any movie does that, any show, and that totally worked for what they were going for. Even though though the story had potential to be stronger, and I'll talk more about that in the negatives in a little bit, because one of my main issues with the movie is the story. Not a horrible story, but it definitely could have been stronger in some areas. But for what they were going for in here, I think it mainly worked with how fun it was. And I thought the tone worked. It's a dark comedy. You know there's going to be some serious moments, but you also know there's going to be some hysterical moments. And the tone worked for me. The tone didn't take me out of it because it's funny. It knows when to get serious, and it knows when to get suspenseful too, and it knows when to get thrilling. And it's actually just a lot of fun. It really is. And there's a twist at the end that actually kind of worked for me, and I didn't see the twist coming. I didn't see the twist coming at all. And some good songs played in here. The Needle Drops, the soundtrack was pretty good. And I love the cast ensemble in here. You have Jessica Henwick, Glen Powell, Margaret Qualley, Ed Harris, Topher Grace. You have Bill Camp, Zach Woods. You have everybody in here, and they were all great. The cast ensemble in this movie was a lot of fun. However, while the pacing is fine for the most part, it mainly starts to drag in the third act. Like the first and second act are fine. They're fine. And overall, I thought the movie was okay. There are some legit fun moments. Like for the most part, it's fun. It is a fun movie because you're engaged in seeing Glen Powell go after everybody. But when it gets to the third act, even though you were having fun in the first and second act, when it gets to the third act, it really starts to drag. It really starts to overstay its welcome. It really starts to wear out its welcome. It does, and you're not really having that much fun anymore. And I really would have liked to see more action. And this movie is, I believe, rated R. I think it is rated R. They really did treat it like a PG-13 film because some of the kills are technically off screen in a way, sort of. And like that part, like it was just, I was like, this movie's rated R. It's rated R. I want to see Glen Powell take out all of these people one by one in the most crazy, brutal ways possible.
Whoa, calm down, Jamal. Don't pull out the 9.
And while the story was good for the most part, the twist that we get in the third act, while I didn't see it coming and while it really did surprise me, the twist we get in the third act made it feel like the first act and the second act didn't matter at all. And when you see the movie, you'll understand what I'm talking about. When you see, you'll be like, okay, that's happening in the first act, that's happening in the second act. How is that all going to tie into the third act in a nice neat bow? And when it gets to the third act, the twist that we get with this character and that character, it just doesn't, the story's not a mess. It's not a mess. But when it does that, it kind of just takes you out of it. It took me out of it. And I'm like, then what was the point of the first two acts anyways? Because we got that twist and that reveals that and that change, like, what's the point? And the movie also reminded me of Glen Powell's other film, Hitman, which I absolutely love. Hitman, I adore that film. This movie, while this Hitman and How to Make a Killing are two different plots, they feel the same. They really do feel the same. And while this movie was not horrible, while I love Hitman, this felt like a watered down version of Hitman. Two different plots, but it felt like a watered down version. It really did. And the story is very paper thin as well. You kind of know where it's going. You've seen this movie before. There's no complexity to it. It's not complex in any way. It's not life-changing or anything, and it's really easy to read. It's easy to figure out, and I felt like something was missing overall, and the story in the movie as a whole had the potential to be better. It did, and it's not horrible by any means, but it definitely could have been stronger. It's not so much messy, but it's not very interesting and well thought out as it should be, and the script really doesn't know what to do with some characters. Like Ed Harris's character, he doesn't have much time to shine. And I love Ed Harris. I know most of y'all probably love Ed Harris as well. And I wanted to see him more. And I know when y'all see the movie, you'll be like, I wanted to see Ed Harris more. And we just didn't get to see him that much. And it is a little too long as well. So yeah, overall, with How to Make a Killing, I didn't have any big expectations for this movie. I really didn't. But as someone who loves Glen Powell, and as someone who, Glen Powell's my favorite actor. He is, and I love seeing him in any role, even if the movie's bad or even if it's mid like this. I love seeing Glen Powell because he's charismatic and he's such a fun actor to see on screen. He has a great presence, and the cast ensemble in here is great. And I love the concept as a whole, but with How to Make a Killing, I will give this movie a 3 out of 5 stars. And with How to Make a Killing, I will say choose choose your time wisely. If you're a Glen Powell fan, if you like Margaret Qualley, if you saw the trailer for this movie and you were dying to see it, and if you saw the cast ensemble for this movie and you were dying to see it as well, I think you might enjoy it, you might not. So that'll wrap up this video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share in this video. We just hit 1K sales a while back, we're now 1.2K. And the next big milestone is 2K and 3K after that. Beyond that as well. If you're new as well, I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, trailer reactions, movie live streams, movie news, movie rankings, all that wonderful movie stuff under the movie umbrella. And let's talk about it in the comments down below. Did you like How to Make a Killing? Did you not like it? Or are you going to go see it in theaters when it officially releases tomorrow? Or are you going to wait to watch it on streaming? Let's talk about it down below. Keep talking movies, wonderful people. Cheers.